So, as you're building your book portfolio and adding to your repertoire, you might also want to consider any kind of ancillary products that may not be books, but maybe book related. Especially if you're doing in-person events, you may want to have things available at your booth other than books to purchase. Helps to boost those sales, gives you another stream of revenue, helps you grow your business beyond just books. So if you have somebody maybe who's not a reader, maybe they see something else at your booth that they're interested in purchasing and that you wouldn't have otherwise made that sale. So you can look at potentially branding merchandise to expand your reach beyond the pages of your book. So you could do t-shirts or apparel. Maybe you have a character or your character has a saying, or maybe you have a cool logo and you think people might be interested in purchasing that. You could do t-shirts, mugs, totes, bags, other accessories, mouse pads. If you have a cool book cover that you have the rights to be able to distribute products with that image, you might consider something like that. Bookmarks, stationery, those things are all kind of within, they fit with your book, they fit with your branding. Or exclusive content such as special editions. Maybe you want to do hardbacks. Maybe you want to do signed copies, limited edition prints, books with custom covers. There are a lot of different things. I know that, at my booth, I was trying to think for the longest time, I have books. What pairs well with books? And the first thing that jumped into my mind was like wine. And then I was like, okay, so wine might be difficult to sell at events. So what am I going to do? Coffee. So I started selling coffee at my booths. And then if you're selling coffee at your booths, then obviously you need like mugs and tumblers because you need something in which to drink said coffee. So those are kind of some things, that I branched out. I've taken the liberty of creating a few games that are set in my worlds. So game designing. So now I'm selling board games and I'm demoing board games and RPGs and those things like that. So I'm outside of the book writing realm and into the game design realm. It's another stream of revenue for me that I'm growing. If you ever talk to me at an event and I kind of introduce you to all the things that I have at my booth, a lot of people will be like, you got a lot of stuff going on. And I'm like, well, I'm building an empire. And they kind of chuckle at that. But it is the fact, like you're taking this business and you're growing it. So you need to constantly be looking and evaluating, what things get added. I do some crafty shows. So I started making these macrame trees of life, dream catchers. They're beautiful. They sell well at craft shows. They kind of go along the same lines as my Ruin Master saga, as it pulls on Yggdrasil and the Tree of Life. So I'm kind of playing into that, and those things fit with what I have to offer. My daughter sells crystals at the booth. A lot of my books are, they're magic-y and, crystals are involved in that. Ruin Master has moonstones in it. So, those things are present. So those types of merchandise kind of synergize with my brand. So the great things that you can do is, you increase your brand awareness, passive income. It doesn't get much more passive than having an Etsy shop. And I have things on there that I make on the Etsy shop, but then I also go to Printify where I can design things like t-shirts, phone cases, notebooks, backpacks, sweatshirts. You can design coffee, like the cover, the bag of the coffee now. You can't sell that on Etsy, but I could purchase it and sell it in my booth. But anyway, the way that works is it's connected to my Etsy shop. So somebody buys it on Etsy, I get a notification, I jump over to Printify and I send it to production and they ship it out. Like I don't do anything but hit a button. it's the easiest thing ever. So think of smart things like that. Of course, of course, Printify is taking a little bit of money, and Etsy's taken a little bit of money, but I can tell you what, I've made a lot of revenue that way, and it's super easy, and it didn't really take me any extra time in which to do it. Some other things you can look at, and I'm going to start building some of this. I haven't done a lot of it, is speaking engagements, sharing expertise, and you're basically building authority in your brand. So you could offer keynote speeches, workshops, and seminars. Trevor and I have done some workshops and seminars, mostly at like Ignite Peoria here. We've done some at some local game conventions, but we haven't done anything on a large scale stage. I am considering doing some finance classes at something like Origins or Gamma, designed to let people know, what is your creditor looking for whenever you are applying for this loan to start whatever, like a game store, a publishing company, whatever you want to do. And, the 3 C's of credit, like what is your lender looking at? How can I put my portfolio together to sell myself and reduce the amount of risk in the creditor's eyes. So that's something I'm thinking about putting together. Panel discussions. I participated in a few of these. They do them at Gen Con. They do them at Origins. I have not weaseled my way into any of those, but that's probably something that I need to figure out because it gets you in front of people. And also like virtual events, webinars, podcasts. I do want to do a podcast. I want to do a podcast for my Titan Home Quest. I really, really want to do it. The software I want to do it in is a little bit expensive. So, I have a budget. I have financial responsibility. I have to pick and choose where, what I do with my business. And so that was slated to do this year, but due to some other things coming up, my daughter and I deciding to do a Kickstarter for a new game, that kind of got pushed to the back burner and pawned off on 2025 instead of 2024. So we'll see how that goes. So speaking in engagements, you have to think about it. It really is just your time that you're spending. So, your return on investment is pretty high there, and you have a high earning potential because people pay a lot if you're a subject matter expert in a certain area to come and talk about that. Also increases your networking opportunities. If you sit on a panel with other authors, boom, they just became networking opportunities for you, people that you can learn and grow with. Building credibility, if you're speaking on a platform and you have really engaging information, important information to provide, it increases your credibility. They're like, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. That type of thing. You can host workshops so you can teach or empower others. So you can do writing workshops. I've not done any of those. I've thought about doing them online. Self-publishing workshops, again, doing those online. Genre-specific workshops. And so basically, you are monetizing your expertise. You're monetizing something that you know how to do and you feel confident in doing. And basically, you can build a community that way. So you can become a mentor to mentees, people who are new to the industry. You can kind of coach them. And that enhances your reputation. You're at an event and now there's a new author there and they're like, oh my gosh, Ray Clark, she convinced me to publish this book, and that's advertisement. Don't care what way you look at it. In-person events, I'll preach it until the day I die. You cannot put your book online and expect it to make money. You are going to have to do online events. You're going to have to figure that out. So doing book signings, some authors will do literary festivals, although I've found that they don't work for me because they're oversaturated with books. So you're competing with every other vendor there. If you're doing other kinds of festivals that are a mixed hodgepodge of vendors, you may be competing with maybe 3, 4, 5 other authors there as opposed to 25 or 50, other authors. I mean, people only have so much money that they're willing to spend on books. So you're selling some of your sales with other authors whenever you're doing just the literary events. And while those are great for networking, they're not great for large amounts of sales. So I would still recommend doing some. It's definitely a learning experience, and it may work better for you than it did for me. You can host workshops and readings. You can offer book clubs, whether they're in person or virtually. The benefit of the in-person sales is that you're going to get a higher sales conversion, because you're actually, rather than somebody coming across it on their website, on your website, and reading about it. I find that if you're the author and they read the back of the book and then you start talking about maybe, character synergy or plot, or, maybe they have a question about, well, what is this book similar to? Or do you think I'd be interested in this? You can talk to them directly, which you're going to convert a sale more likely in person than anything online will ever be able to do. And that also builds reader loyalty. If they know that they can come to your booth, they can come to the same convention every year, and that you'll have something new there, and they just read this book and they're going to read another one, and maybe they're going to pick up that other trilogy that you have out there. You're building reader loyalty that way. They're seeking you out for the next book. They're asking you, when is the next book coming? It's repeat sales. And you get immediate feedback in person. So, you get to gauge how your pitches interact with somebody. Like, was it effective or was it not effective? If it's not effective, then you need to change your pitch so you can kind of test it out. I mean, if you sit there and watch people go through your booth, there's a psychology to it. I've noticed that if people actually pick up the book, they're more apt to purchase the book. So if you can create an environment where they want to pick up the book, leaving several copies out to where they can pick up the book and read it, encourage them to pick it up. Now, no sales tactics where you haggle the customer and shove it in their hands. I have seen that, and I will tell you what, if I am walking through a vendor hall and an author shoves a book in my hand, I am going to turn around and shove it up their ass. I'm not going to do it. Like those, I see people all the time that just hassle people. And if you're vending next to somebody who does that and has that annoying sales practice where they hassle people, when people are coming down the aisle, you will watch them. They'll see that vendor interact with other people, and they'll walk to the other side of the aisle. And if you're next to them, you're getting skipped over because they don't want to come into the vicinity of that person that's next to you. So don't be that person. If you're doing those in-your-face sales tactics, nothing is more annoying than that. And you may get some more sales, but you're sacrificing everybody else around you. And I beg to differ on whether or not you're really making that many sales more than anybody else would. Just be a decent human. Don't be an asshole. But you can gauge how your pitches interact with people in a real life environment. I found that sometimes, if you're doing an event, you can turn over the book and have the book blurb facing up. So as people walk by your book, they can kind of skim it. And then they might stop and pick up the book and look inside. Those are some things that you can do. But, it definitely is a psychology experiment. I'm watching people go through the booth and what they pick up, how they pick it up, how they interact with it. Do they open it up? Do they just read the back of the book? Just see what people are drawn to. I know I have one book cover that everybody picks up, and no matter what order I put it in. So it's the second book in a trilogy. So no matter how I arrange the 3 books in that trilogy, they always pick up that middle book. Hands down. Always. So, cover art does matter. And there's definitely a psychology to it all. So, definitely consider that whenever you're doing in-person events. The feedback that you're getting, the instant feedback that you're getting from the customer is invaluable. So a lot of times I'll use that cover as online advertisements. Like if I'm doing a Facebook ad, I will use that image as my image, and the amount of response it gets is significantly higher than anything else I've ever tried. So it's kind of like I did a dry run in the in-person environment. I found that to be my most effective marketing tool and then use it. So that is how business works.